Okay, here's another question I have. Like a big part about real estate going up in value is your dollar is actually decreasing in value. So it takes more and more of those dollars to buy the house. But with like out of whack supply demand dynamics like we have in Ontario, can you chalk up part of the real estate going up literally due to just simple supply and demand?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like, I think we have like a perfect mix here where like the supply and demand in Ontario is causing, you know, more and more people to want the house, which will make the price go up like any market.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you layer in more and more dollars flushed into the economy, it's like kind of pouring gasoline on the fire.
Yeah. And then the ability to buy with pretty good leverage here in Canada.
Yeah. To buy with leverage here in Canada, put 20% down, borrow the rest, you buy the house. It's kind of like one of the, you know what the nice thing about real estate, which I think, you know, will upset some people, is that it's the nicest way to use the system against itself. Because if you've convinced yourself, maybe like I have, and everyone's going to have a different opinion, that there's going to be more and more fiat dollars kind of printed. Well, if I can put 20% down, borrow the other 80%, to me, that's like a 4-to-1 short on the Canadian dollar. Like, I'm banking on the dollar going to be worth less and less,
Yeah.
which means the debt I currently hold is going to be easier to pay in the future because there's going to be more of these dollars flushing around.
Yeah. So that's a huge point. Like you're paying your loan back with dollars that are worth less and less, but we don't actually know what that'll be. So it's kind of vague. We just know that we are benefiting from that. But the other
there's
thing,
no guarantee. There's no 100% guarantee either.
that the dollars you're going to be paying it back are going to be worth less.
I mean, I think the odds are very high, but there's no way to absolutely guarantee that.
Exactly. So that's kind of a vague one. So it's harder to lean on that one as like a solid support thing. But you're also buying on 5x leverage. Mm-hmm. Like you're putting 20% down to buy the 100% of the value, which you then get to benefit from. But that's, nobody talks about that when they're like, oh, the housing market only goes up 6%, 7% a year, but the stock market goes up 10%. Well, you're buying on 5x leverage with the house.
It's one way for you to get ahead.
So if it's 6%, it's actually it's actually 30% a year. Mm-hmm. But nobody ever talks about the leverage aspect of it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But maybe if you're buying a REIT and you're not buying on leverage and your REIT portfolio goes up 6%, but if you're buying a single family home, like the sweet spot, like you talk about, where the big investors aren't buying, and it's hard for a lot of people to buy that single family home now. You're in this sweet middle spot where you're buying on that leverage, where the 6% is actually 30% appreciation, let alone all the other benefits.
Yeah. 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 The leverage is so nice. I kind of use an example all the time. If let's just use 100,000, even though a property around here is not 100,000. If you put 20% down and you buy a property for $100,000 and that property goes up 10%, then the property is quote unquote worth $110,000. But you only put down $20,000. You've just made a 50% return.
Yeah, 10 grand on 20 grand.
Yeah, on your money because of the leverage.
Yeah.
And if you know what's going to happen to me in this world, you think that these properties are going to inflate more and more, then it seems like it's worth it. The risk being you have to make sure you can carry. So as interest rates rise, can you survive through the ups and downs? But if you can survive the ups and downs, it's one of the very few ways to build yourself a future and outpace the inflation and kind of get out of the matrix.
Mm-hmm. And another huge thing that I got from you, Nick, is the importance of marketing your property, because that sets you apart and that allows you to get good quality tenants in there that allow you to carry that property.
Yeah.
Like it's huge.
I swear, I'll never forget this. I've convinced Carol to spend $8,000 on a mentor. And I had already flipped property and I'd already owned rental property. And Nick and I bought the student rental property by Mac. And I paid $8,000 at the time. I swear that must have been all the savings that we possibly had. Maybe I even put the last part on Visa. I don't know how I paid it. And Carol, being so supportive of me, she kind of went along with it. And one Sunday, we didn't get this mentor's phone number. You can never call him. You could just meet. And you met, and I think we got 4 private sessions, and he drove us down the street where Nick and I had already owned a piece of real estate. And he said, look at all the for rent signs on this street. He goes, this is a sign that the market's saturated here. They can't get students for these properties in these rooms. So this is a street, as an example, you wouldn't want to buy on. And my jaw hit the floor. I knew I was immediately ripped off because we owned on literally that same street. The guy didn't know it. I didn't tell him. And Nick and I, through marketing, understood how to drive a lot of students to the property. We would have like 30, 40, 50, 60 students on the front lawn. We would fill all the rooms in that property in one showing in one Saturday afternoon. And the other landlords just didn't understand good marketing. Maybe they didn't keep their properties in good order, and there's all these other factors as well. But because they didn't understand good marketing, they had a lot of for rent signs up. And this mentor that I had paid for was telling me how this was a bad area to invest in. And that's when it really clicked, like, wow, firsthand knowledge is so important. And if you are a good marketer of almost anything that you do in the world, real estate, business, otherwise, you're always going to be okay. And that's why, to me, marketing became such a big